What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be taking a look at Shocker, written and directed by Wes Craven. Okay, I'm going to do my best to point out my pros and cons for this movie because overall I thoroughly enjoy Shocker a lot. However, this movie suffers from being very lopsided. You have a first half which is just awesome. It's a grounded and gritty slasher movie in the first half, and then when you get to the second half, it becomes this overblown, rompous, but still highly entertaining black comedy. Kind of like Tusk and An American Werewolf in London. That's the best comparison I can give to Shocker. It's a good movie, a good horror movie, but it suffers from tonal shifts. Again, the first half of this movie is just, it's brilliant. The first half of this movie is fantastic. It's dark, it's gritty, it's got a suspenseful atmosphere. Horace Pinker, the second you see him on screen, you're immediately horrified by this man as he's about to kill a family. And you got Mitch Pileggi just all throughout the movie, who is just fantastic as Horace Pinker. He's got great on-screen charisma. He's gleefully over the top in this movie. You can tell the man's having a ball playing this movie. He's playing Horace Pinker as this brutish psychopath, but also gives him a lot of personality and a lot of goddamn charisma. He is a ball in this movie all throughout. Mitch Pileggi is the star. But that's not to take away from Peter Berg, who plays the hero of this movie called Jonathan. And Peter Berg, he's a good lead. I like him in this movie. He's very, very likable. I like the chemistry he has with Cammy Cooper, who plays his girlfriend Allison, though their relationship to me is very, very underdeveloped. And when Allison dies, it kind of falls flat for me. Peter Berg's acting in the scene is fantastic, but I was not fully invested in the relationship yet because I would have liked to have gotten more scenes with them as a couple before you killed Allison off. I like the idea of killing her off, and I like the idea of her coming back as a ghost to try and help him take down Pinker and give him information he needs to know about Pinker. But I think it would have had more of an effect if there was more of development with the relationship. The actors are doing the best they can. I think Peter Berg and Cammy Cooper have really good on-screen chemistry with one another, and it's pretty much their on-screen chemistry that makes me care about the relationship. But I would like to see more scenes and more development with them. So that, to me, that's a big flaw, because this movie uses the power of love pretty much to stop Pinker, and because they didn't get enough scenes with those two as a couple, for me it kind of falls flat. I mean, the movie does its best to make you care, and I give Craven a lot of credit. He tries, but it's just falling flat because the development is just not there for me, at least. But where the development is, I like the relationship between Jonathan and his foster father, Don. I think they're really good on screen with one another. I think Michael Murphy puts on a very, very underrated performance. And I kind of like this parallel that happens with Jonathan, because the movie also reveals that Horace Pinker is Jonathan's real biological father, who pretty much abused him and nearly killed him when he was just a little baby. And throughout the movie, Horace Pinker keeps telling Jonathan, "You're just like me. You're just like me. You're a chip off the old block. You're just like me. You're a killer, just like me." And when you get to the final climax of the movie, Jonathan refuses to kill Pinker, and pretty much just leaves him alone. Thus, Jonathan more or less embracing the teachings of Don as opposed to embracing the other side of him, which is the Horace Pinker side. So I like that little understated little character arc that Jonathan has. You really got to pay attention to. I thought that was actually really well drawn out, because the movie didn't like jam it in your face. Kind of happened at the end. But I like it because the movie dropped seeds and hints here and there that you can pick on. So from a character standpoint, I think Jonathan is actually, to me, he's developed. He has charisma. He's got a good character arc as well. I also like the supporting cast in this movie. I think they all do strong. You get appearance by Ted Raimi. Always fun to see Ted Raimi. You see Kane Roberts, which I'll get to later on when I talk about my negatives. And yeah, but when I get to my negatives, but it's not negative as opposed that I hate it. It's negative as it opposed to creating a vastly different tone for this movie. Vastly different tone in this movie. But yeah, supporting cast in this movie is great. The soundtrack, the heavy metal, awesome. I'm a metal guy, so Wes Craven basically directing a heavy metal music video that's almost an hour long. That's almost 2 hours long. That's fun in my book. And yeah, like the first half of this movie's also got really good pacing as well. Paced beautifully. And then we get to Horace Pinker's execution, which happens, which leads to the second half of the movie. And that's where the wheels start to fall off from a story standpoint. So this movie pretty much says that Horace Pinker is someone who practices in black magic. And right before he gets killed in the electric chair, he kind of makes a deal with the devil that pretty much allows him to transfer his soul from being to being. Pretty much a better done version of Jason Goes to Hell, minus that fucking bullshit that movie had. And that's where the movie kind of just falls flat on its face. The whole body hopping thing, it's Wes Craven made it work, but it's just so goofy. It can come across as really, really goofy, especially when he possesses a little girl. The scene is hilarious, and seeing a child curse and threaten is funny as shit, especially when they're acting like Mitch Pileggi as Horace Pinker. But it's just so goofy, and when Horace Pinker and Jonathan are running across, or literally sucked into a TV, and are running across stations and jumping in and out of said television, it's goofy. It's really, really goofy. I mean, Wes tries to play it straight, but when you're watching it, it's just goofy. The second half of this movie is goofy. It's entertaining as all hell, but it's goofy at the same time, and it kind of like undercuts all the good stuff you had in the first half of this movie, where this movie is pretty much like a buttoned-down, good old slasher, and then it goes into this black comedy, just rompousness. And that's where I mean, where it's kind of like Tusk and kind of like An American Werewolf in London. It's a clash of styles that when you don't fully have an understanding about it, it can cause a really bad tonal shift. And that's what this movie's biggest flaw is, that it has a very bad tonal shift. It's really unfocused. But I want to iterate, this movie is still vastly entertaining, but it suffers from being extremely unfocused as well. You have a great first half, and you have a lopsided second half. And the only reason why this movie is still watchable is because Wes Craven, while he didn't fully have a grasp on the script, he has a grasp on the production, he has a grasp on his directing skills, and he has a grasp on his cast. And at the end of the day, they were able to make a very watchable and thoroughly entertaining movie. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on Shocker. Again, I want to iterate, I really do like this movie, but it does suffer from a lot of problems, and that's why I have to give it a 7 out of 10. The lopsidedness in the second half really brings down that grade from a movie when its first half was fucking awesome and had the potential to be one of those, and had the potential to be a Nightmare on Elm Street like franchise movie. Instead, kind of falls flat on its face. But again, you have a great performance by Mitch Pileggi, and you have a great performance by everyone else in the cast, so you can't really go wrong with Shocker. It is still highly entertaining, and I'm gladly giving it, again, a 7 out of 10. Okay, so those are my thoughts on Shocker. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I would like to know. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.